Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, a platform and a channel where we apply the principles of spirituality, philosophy, and mysticism to rapid lifestyle transformation. And I've been getting inspiration these days since I launched our platform and since I actually took steps forward in faith into this platform. I've been getting inspirations and promptings from spirit, from the spiritual realm, in dreams and so forth, and also just thoughts that are received through meditation and through my daily workaday life, and even while making videos that are just off the charts. And it just goes to show, like the great Goethe said, the great German author, he said that just start something and then the whole universe will basically conspire to help you. Spirit will conspire to help you and you will get inspirations on the path. So, the lesson in that, go after your desire. Follow your calling and you will get inspiration and it will be off the charts and you will rise to the best in your field. And I have yet to prove this, but it is going to be proven here on this channel as time goes forward. So I've been getting the strong sense, I'm basically being told you need to tell them how to manifest. You need to be as clear and concise as possible. You need to tell them as quickly as possible. And you need to get more people on board that are not on board with this concept. So what I've decided to do is make a video tonight. And this is unscripted. This is just flowing through me. It comes from promptings and inspiration. But I really want to share the modality of manifesting and how to manifest. And why to manifest. What it is. And I want to do it not only for people who are totally brand new to this topic and to this field, but also for people who are well practiced on the path, like me and like the people who are members of our Facebook group at The Real Javier Novoa, at which I'll post a link in the comments. Now, I don't know how much longer we're going to keep that group open. It's for master manifestors, and it's a way that we can dialogue about how to best manifest and how to best respond to the times that are coming forward. I'm just getting the message that we need to get this information more out there in a more concise way. So, what is manifestation? We can look at it through the right-brained lens or the continuous lens, because when you're right-brained, and we're going to go more into this in our series on right brain, left brain, there's been a lot of research coming out on this dynamic just in the recent years and months on that, and it's very pertinent to what we study here. But in the intuitive realm and in the right-brained realm, there's continuity because there's no duality there, so there are no clear borders and clear separations. So when one person says hard work and another person says just surrender and receive, those are both just different reflections of the same modality. Because on the ultimate, you're always manifesting, and the law of manifestation, the law of assumption and the law of attraction applies whether you believe it or not, or whether you apply it or not, just like the law of gravity. If someone doesn't believe in the law of gravity, all things being equal, of course, this manifestational paradigm even breaks laws of physics and can do that, and can even break conventional laws. But we're not going to go there right now. We're going to keep it simpler. But just in the workaday world, if someone doesn't know or believe in the law of gravity, and they jump out of a building, or they jump off a building, well, as some of the great natural law theorists have said, you don't break the law will break you. So if you don't believe in law of assumption or law of attraction, it doesn't matter, because that is the primal law of the universe when we come into multiplicity. So everyone's using it and operating on it. And how can I boil this down to its basic essence so that everyone can understand this? Manifestation, let me put it this way. Everyone's unconsciously using manifestation, but in this course we're here to teach you how to apply it consistently and consciously, so that it doesn't simply become a silent or subconscious presupposition, but it actually becomes a technology. That's right. When you're able to harness something deliberately, be due to a knowledge of it and due to a testing of it, it becomes a technology like any other technology, and the technology of manifestation is the most powerful technology that there is. So, there's the unconscious application of it, and we're all doing it. Every single thing that we do. My drinking this coffee is a manifestation. But in this course, we're going to teach you to manifest consciously. So manifestation simply is conceiving of a desire and then having that desire show itself to you in your experience in a recognizable way. That's the working definition that we're going to use for manifestation. Of course, I'm open to revision because this channel is empirical. We always hold up our definitions and postulates to evidence and to the question of, does it make my life better, as I talked about in previous videos. I am a proponent of pragmatism and the philosophy that the true test of the veracity of a philosophy is, does it make your life better? So in that case, anything that you desire and then get into your experience in a recognizable way is manifestation. Now the conscious use of manifestation is, and I'm going to use this definition, these words are chosen very carefully, it is the bringing of something from the unseen to the seen in a way that is recognizable and in a way that fulfills your preconceptions or your goal of what that desire would bring about. So for example, if you desire a house, manifesting that consciously would be to know that, first of all, and this is the primal law here, the law of consciousness, and that says that anything that you desire is yours. It is somewhere, it is in the spiritual world, it is in the ethers, the moment that you conceive of that desire. But the first step to implementing manifestation consciously is knowing that that desire is yours, and knowing that it exists just as real and just as validly as if it were on this physical world, in this physical dimension. And why is that? Neville Goddard gave an example, and I want you to try this. You can try this right now. Think of a rose. Now I want you to imagine the smell of that rose. And if you haven't smelled a rose, you can do something else. But most people have smelled a rose. I want you to imagine the smell of that rose. You can get the smell of that rose. You can recognize it. And brain scans, if I were to put electrodes on your skull and scan your brain activity, according to science, that brain, the areas of that brain which light up when you smell an actual rose will light up when you conjure that scent of a rose right now. Well, as Neville Goddard said, if that rose doesn't exist, how is that its smell in the air? Because in order for there to be a smell, and in order for those reactions to transpire, there has to be a chemical reaction from something interacting with your senses and going to the brain and so on. To make it very simple, if it's not there, you're not going to be able to recognize it. So it's there somewhere. I want you to follow me very carefully. So the first step to manifesting consciously is knowing that your desire is there already, and knowing that it doesn't matter if it appears on this dimension, because it is already at a certain dimension. What does that mean? That means that the first thing that you have to get comfortable with is not seeing it in this dimension. And this is easy to get your head around or wrap your head around when we realize that not only things in other dimensions usually can't be seen, but about 99.99% of the items and objects and experiences that you think to exist on the same dimensional plane in which you are, you cannot perceive those in any given moment. For example, I know that there's a window behind me, and I can see it when I look into my laptop video that's being taken right now, but I don't sense that unless I turn around and look at it. I can only know a very small area around me that's circumscribed by my senses. So therefore, the majority of things might as well be in another dimension, because I cannot grasp them. But what I can do in any instant that I want is conjure the thought of that, is call up the thought of that. So this is the first step to conscious manifesting. Number one, knowing that everything that you desire exists on another dimension. What does this imply? This implies that there's an infinite number of dimensions in the universe, and it implies that you can go to any of those through your focus at any time that you wish. That implies that you must be an omnipresent and eternal being. But there can only be one omnipresent and eternal being. Therefore, you are the one. That's just one pathway to knowing that you are the one. And when you know that you're the one, you know that everything that applies to that power applies to you. That's why in the biblical scriptures, it said that you have been given the kingdom. You have been given everything pertaining to life and godliness. And that the Father and the Son are one, and you are, of course, the Son. And we're going to go into this more, of course, in our Sunday service. Don't miss that. We're going to be having that again at 9 a.m. Central on Sunday. So, just connecting these disparate thoughts here, because this is unscripted. I just felt inspired to do this. Knowing this, and knowing that what you desire is yours the moment that you desire it, you know that you can pull it into a dimension that you are in. There are philosophical and mystical reasons that we can use to prove why that thing can come from another dimension to this dimension. Because a lot of people say, okay, I imagine it, I feel it, but what's the proof that it's going to come? We can go into that in other videos. I don't want to get too heavy in the philosophical speculation, but one of the main issues is the law of return. This is talked about by the Stoics and other religions, where it talks about everything in reality eternally happening again and again and being a circle. We can see this when we go into vibration and the science of vibration, but I don't want to go deeply into that here. The main proof is that knowing that your desire exists in some dimension, well, of course, implied in your desire is your desire to see it in this dimension. Therefore, your desire to see something in this dimension exists in another dimension. Therefore, even if you were in that dimension, you'd be in this dimension. That's just a very simple argument for explaining that's the case. Of course, this science of manifestation, to a certain extent, I can try to convince you, I can give you arguments, but the only way you're going to learn it, ladies and gentlemen, is if you prove it to yourself. The only way you're going to prove it to yourself is by doing it, by conceiving of a desire. And yes, you can ask, by the way. You can ask God or the universe, I want proof. I want you to prove to me that this modality of manifestation works. You can say this in your manifestation, and you should start with small things. For example, you should do something like, okay, I want to manifest a quarter today. And you should be totally open, by the way. You should put as few roadblocks as possible to you seeing or getting that quarter. And you just want to tell the universe, I just want to get more faith. I want to have more faith, Lord, in this manifestational modality that Javier is talking about. So what I want to do is I'm thinking of a beautiful, shiny quarter. I want to see this quarter manifest some way in my reality today, but I'm not going to specify any of the specifics. I just want you to deliver it to me. And in some way that will be delivered to you, and you will know that it is from manifestation, because as we talked about in the last video, this comes in ways that you don't expect. It has to if it's a manifestation. And second of all, you'll know that it was due to the activity that you created in your mind. Of course, that's a small thing. In manifestation, there are no small and big things ultimately, because there's no duality. But there are many things that are not yet possible for you, because faith and belief is a huge component of this. So how can we really boil this down? Abraham Hicks, I believe, gives the equation for manifestation. Basically, she said, desire plus belief equals resistance. Or it could be desire times belief. I don't really remember. But it's a good working model. So you desire something and you completely believe it, it will manifest in your experience very fast. If you desire something a lot, but doubt it a lot too, and usually your doubt rises in proportion to your desire, then you're not going to get it. And you can hold it away from you for the rest of your life. Of course, when we die, we release all resistance and we get everything that we ask for. And then, of course, we attain that unity again and we come right back into these bodies, because you get bored very quickly. But that's for another video, for another podcast. But desire plus belief equals manifestation. And we'll go into this more deeply. But why should you manifest? Why should we go into this? Because first of all, everybody manifests, like we said before. And every modality can work for someone. Like, for example, a lot of people have written me and said, well, you say that it's not required to do any effort. And I do say this, and this is true. Nowhere in that equation of manifestation, belief plus desire equals manifestation, was there effort. Effort's not even a factor in this. In fact, according to our modality, the more effort you make, the more you lower that belief or raise the resistance factor, and actually the further back in time you push back your desire in space and time, the further back in space and time. But this is very nuanced, and we'll go into it. But people have written me, send me an email saying, why do you say there's no effort? And look at the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. And he says he works every day of the year. And he works 16-hour days every single day. And even, I believe, when he met with the president of Mexico, he said, I'm sorry, I had to sleep in the bus because I didn't get any sleep last night because I had to continue working. Something to this effect. But when you realize that everything is manifestation, you can attribute that to the belief component. So, for example, if you believe that you have to work hard to get what you desire, then there's also, this introduces another factor to this. The belief is now compounded, because in our system it's very simple. You lower the resistance, that happens naturally, you believe it more, your desire remains somewhat the same, but it grows also a bit, and then the desire snaps into your experience. But when it now depends on you and you put your ego into the equation, now there are two belief categories. The first belief category is, I believe that I have to work hard to get what I want. The second belief category is now, do I believe I can do it? Because the majority of poor people that I talk to say that, no, you have to work very hard to be wealthy, but I don't believe that I can and I don't want to. Therefore, guess what? It's true for them. And they're not wealthy. Even if they have a very high desire to get wealthy, that compound belief, because of the belief that I have to do it, it makes it more difficult for that to flow into their experience. So everyone is manifesting. The way that we teach is easier, and it's less conditional, and that goes into why should you manifest. And that's the final question I want to tackle in this video. And we're going to make more videos about manifesting and how to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I see myself now as a coach in mental rehearsal. And I think mental rehearsal and focus are going to be the most important points of this channel. It's going to be the pillar of it, and it's going to be the essence of our teaching. Because your focus is exercised through mental rehearsal. And then you bring everything that you want to you, or rather it comes to you effortlessly. But what I was saying, that why should we apply this modality? Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't noticed the economic news, the economy is falling. And I heard a very great economist, and I won't name the person, just today saying that he expects that there will be some major economic failures and major banking crises in the next 4 to 7 days. Now, I'm not making that prediction, but it is significant that someone that I respect and someone who is a serious economist has said this. And what if that happens? What if all of your net worth and your savings were wiped out tomorrow? And it's becoming more likely of a reality, especially with the fiat currency regimen that we have here, especially with the politics and the social disintegration. These are things that not all law of assumption, law of attraction channels talk about, but I talk about it because it's part of the compound whole. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll just give you a simple example. If beef becomes $50 a pound, you're going to need to start manifesting that food, or you're not going to have food. It's going to become less of a luxury and more of a necessity. That's why we're teaching manifestation. That's why I've been inspired and prompted to get these teachings and these videos out as quickly as possible, even unedited. Because I could have done a better job writing this video up and editing it. People are probably going to say that I'm rambling all over the place. That's probably true. We are going to make a more structured video on this, a better video, but I just felt inclined to put this out. I need to put this information out, and I need to put it out now. I need to give the people some guidance on manifesting, especially for those who haven't heard this before, and even for those manifestors who are still sort of on the fence about it. So it's going to become more of a necessity, ladies and gentlemen, the days and years to come, to manifest and to be able to pull out that desire, be it food, be it shelter, be it a safe place, be it opportunities for your family. You're going to want to pull that out of the ether, because pretty soon it's not going to matter how much work you do. If a pound of beef is $50, if you can't afford the normal staples, if there's scarcity, the only way to get yourself out of that scarcity is going to be to manifest. And we're going to be talking about biblical and Quranic stories about this in our Sunday services, but this has indeed happened many times. The loaves and the fishes. The story of the widow in the Old Testament. Of course, these are metaphysical, and they also speak of literal events, I believe. There's not an opposition between the two. But you're going to need to manifest. So, just the simple steps of this. Now, for our more advanced spiritual students, we know that there are no steps because the process does you. But looking at this from the outside, and we all need this refreshment every now and then, there is a time when even the master manifester is at his lowest and he questions the principles. When you question the principles, you need a simple process that you can go about and implement and then show it to yourself. I like the way that Vadim Zeland talks about the indirect method or indirect will in reality transurfing, because just to make this very quick and very brief, in manifesting we don't use direct will, because direct will is actually going to Taco Bell and buying a taco. This is easy enough for the majority of things in our workaday life. If the economic predictions are correct, this is going to be getting harder for the majority of the population very soon. But to create true masterpieces, you have to use the indirect method, because you're trying to affect movement in the universe that's not simply linear. You're not moving one rock to another side of the yard. You're building a pyramid. And how do you think the Egyptians, with no technology, which is what we were taught in our education system, how do you think they built those? Well, they used indirect will. And what that is basically pulling a result to a certain extent, pulling a result from another film roll onto this film roll. Or it's quantum jumping, it's jumping film rolls. So how do we use it? We can get indirect will and we can harness it as a technology. But we can't, of course, do it directly. How do we do that? There's a very simple recipe. First of all, you get very clear what it is you want. Of course, there's general manifesting, and that's very beneficial too. But when you're in a time crunch, or you want to build a masterpiece and you know what you want, you can take the detailed or specific vision of this. And that's what Neville Goddard teaches a lot, and that's what we're teaching on this channel. Because I know that the people who watch this channel are business people as well as manifestors, are people who are out in the world getting results and they want their hands in the clay. Well, you have your hands in the clay as well as being able to affect indirect results. So what you do is, first of all, you get very clear what you want in your mind. You can refer to our videos on journaling, but you can just sit down, close your eyes, and say, okay, what is it I want? And get a very clear statement. Then what you do is you feel yourself and imagine yourself into this. You can take a few minutes to half an hour to do this. Imagine yourself into those circumstances through a scene or through a very pithy phrase or affirmation that you can revert to and start mentally rehearsing. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take as long as it takes to start practicing that film roll or that image or that statement in your mind. And what are we rehearsing for? We're rehearsing to feel natural in it. We're rehearsing so that the feeling of that is natural, so that we're used to the feeling, and so that even we get a sense of boredom. Because at first when you try to focus on what you want to manifest, you could be nervous, or you could feel like, I'm not used to this. It's like a new pair of shoes. But once you mentally rehearse it, you get so good at it and so used to it that you become bored at it. Or you find yourself going there in daydreams, and you'll find yourself dreaming about it. But I want you to get so good at imagining this state that you could be in the supermarket and immediately revert to it. Then what do? You follow the scripts, ladies and gentlemen. And while you're doing that concurrently, you take small steps that feel good and feel natural to start making the film roll that you're on as pleasant as possible. So say, for example, if you're in a situation where you must manifest food and you don't have food, you need to start mentally rehearsing that. Imagine yourself eating the food. And then do whatever small things you can that you think that you could do to affect that to make the film roll more pleasant. Perhaps you'll go in search of food. And that's okay. That's also part of this. Because what this is about freeing up energy so that you can be completely and totally on the other film roll. Then what you do is you start just living as much as you can on the other film roll. It's called sealing yourself. Neville Goddard compared it to the mustard seed. And why is the faith in the mustard seed significant? Not because of its size, but because it is a tiny seed, but it is sealed up, and within that is the complete map and the complete blueprint for what it's going to develop into. So these are just a few quick points on manifestation. I wanted to get that out. I wanted to share that because I think it's important that we reach as many people as we can with this methodology. So please subscribe and like to our channel so that we can get this information out to as many people as possible. Of course, I am doing coaching calls where I take you by the hand step by step in these modalities of rapid lifestyle transformation. Please join the Facebook group and at The Real Javier Novoa. I will put a link in the description. Until very soon, I'll see you guys later. This is Javier with much love and much appreciation. Thanks for watching.